Let's get everything underway. Welcome, Nigeria. I'm so happy to be here. To introduce myself, my name is Chris Hoard. I'm a Teams MVP from Fusion here in the UK, and it's such a privilege to be speaking at this event for LATU TechX Powered. I'm really looking forward to the next half an hour and talking to you about the Power Platform within Microsoft Teams. Thank you very much to all of the organisers for this event for inviting me, to Kazim and the team. So what to expect from this short session? We're going to be looking at the value of using Power Platform within Microsoft Teams. We are then going to be looking on some simple scenarios of how to use Power Platform within Teams. And last but not least, we're going to be looking at some recommendations and a call to action. Now, the outcome of this session, in this short half an hour session, is how we can make Teams more productive by going past the out-the-box functionality. So we can use Teams for chat and meetings and calling, but it's going beyond that to make Teams more productive. This is a level 100 introductory session, so you do not need any prior understanding, and the demo is going to be about 40%. But just a caveat, and that is that Microsoft Teams is rapidly changing. Microsoft Ignite is just around the corner, so this session is going to be valid for about 4 to 6 weeks. So let's get starting out by defining what we mean by empowerment. This session is called the most productive teams are empowered, and this term empower is to give somebody the power or authority to do something. We can empower individuals, we can empower businesses, and we can empower teams. So if we're thinking about individuals, those individuals, we can empower them to make frontline decisions, or we can empower them with autonomy to be able to do things on their own. With businesses, we can empower them with laws. The government can do that with policies. There are many different ways we can empower businesses. And now if we think about teams, we can empower teams with the skills, the knowledge, and the tools of which they need. Now, this term empowerment is used by Microsoft. It's used in Microsoft's mission statement. You may have seen this before, but Microsoft's mission statement, how they approach their services, is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. But what's important here is that that's not their end goal. Their end goal, Microsoft's vision, is to help people and businesses throughout the world realize their full potential. So this is a really good way of thinking about, or starting to think about, Teams and the Power Platform. The Teams and Microsoft Teams is there to empower every person, and the Power Platform is helping you reach your full potential. We're going to think about that as we go throughout the session. Now, we start out by thinking about the success of Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams has had a massive jump in daily active usage. Back in July 2019, when it overtook Slack for the first time, this was 13 million daily active users. As we've gone through 2020, that has gone up rapidly. So in November of 2019, it was 20 million. In March of 2020, it was 44. In May, it was 75. And on Microsoft's earnings call back in October, that had gone up to 115 million. Now, Microsoft, okay, at Ignite, are probably going to tell us that that's grown even further. But that massive explosion in users in Microsoft Teams is because it's a best-in-class product. It's won many awards, as you can see on the right-hand side, twice Best in Show for Enterprise Connect. It's a leader in unified communications and meetings with Gartner. It's overtaken Slack, and it's closing in fast on Zoom. So we've seen it almost grow 10 times the number of users for Microsoft Teams. Now, why has that grown? First of all, it's due to COVID-19 and the fact that most of us are now working remotely. So the world over, it's changed the way we worked, it's changed the way we lived. We are moving to remote working. That's been a big factor in the growth of Microsoft Teams. In addition, though, there are many other factors. Number one, There's been lots of innovations within Teams. So we think about private channels, we think about custom backgrounds, we think about together mode or large gallery or presenter and attendee roles. They have all come in within the last year or so, and the release of new features in Microsoft Teams has been very, very rapid. Secondly, Microsoft Teams resonates with people. If you go and give them a demonstration of Microsoft Teams, it's how we want to work today. We do not work as individuals, we work within teams. And for admins, people who administrate the service, so for the IT teams, it really simplifies the administration by bringing everything together. Thirdly, it's about Microsoft Teams being a strategic focus to Microsoft. By using Microsoft Teams, you are using all of the applications within Microsoft 365. So SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange. By using Teams, you are using all of those services. But what's important about today, and as we begin to start moving on to talk about the Power Platform, Teams has been successful because of this idea of extensibility. Now, extensibility is the software's ability to have functionality built upon it. In other words, Teams becomes a base for all other applications and where technologies are developed. So when Teams was first released, it was all about chatting together and meeting together and calling together. But over the last few years, we've been moving to this idea that Teams is where you bring all your applications. And when you create a new application, that is designed to work within Teams. And that has many benefits for us. Number one, we're bringing all of the applications together where people work. We think about that huge growth of Microsoft Teams. We're spending more of our day within Teams. So if we can bring all our applications there, it's going to make it a better experience for us. Secondly, by doing that, it makes it very easy to access those applications and how administrators distribute those applications. Microsoft Teams is becoming more and more like an operating system, like how Windows works. Thirdly, we're increasing the interrelationships between those applications. If you can think about only a few years ago, all of those applications were separate. We'd have to go into one application, then another in a browser, on the mobile. It's all very disjointed. We want one simple workflow where we can focus. Last of all, okay, it's about filling in the functionality gaps to meet the real business needs. And that's one of the key part of where Teams and Power Platform, you can build the applications to make Teams work for you. And there are a lot of opportunities here for both business and new revenue. So if you're a developer today, if you're a business that creates applications, it's a very exciting time. Now, how can we extend Teams? Here's just a few ways. First of all, we can consume those applications within Microsoft Teams. In the Teams App Store, there are over 800 applications. So if I go into Microsoft Teams and I come down to the App Store here, we can start using other applications within Microsoft Teams. There are over 800 apps that are currently available today, and there are app templates on GitHub. But it's as important to note that we can extend Teams through building applications ourselves. Now, you have two routes, which are full code routes. So if you're a professional developer, you can go one or two ways. Number one, you can build using your preferred tools. So we can build an application, for example, in C#. We can create it with Visual Studio. We can house it in an environment such as Azure, and we can package it with App Studio and install it into our Teams. On the other hand, we can also use the SharePoint framework. So we would use Angular, we would use open source tools such as Workbench or Node.js. We would host that app in SharePoint, and then we would sync it to Teams. So as a professional developer, I can build my apps in kind of two main different ways in order to put them in Microsoft Teams. But now on the right-hand side, and what we're going to talk about for the rest of the day, is the Power Platform. So the Power Platform is aimed not just at professional developers, but what we call citizen developers. Citizen developers are people that have no, I would say, professional career or education in development, but Microsoft is making it easy to be able to create apps and automate and to create data visualizations. This is low code, what we call low code, no code. So the Power Platform is really the third way, the way that we're going to focus on today. Now, understanding these things, understanding this concept of extensibility, the fact that we can move beyond the out of the box for what Teams does, and understanding that we can do that through full code or do that with the Power Platform, makes us realize that many organizations are not reaching their potential. Here in the UK and in many other countries, when organizations start using Teams, they simply use it for the basic workload. So almost all organizations use it for chat and files. A few less use it for meetings, even less use it for as a full phone system for calling. Even less use the out-of-the-box applications, and even less use it for security, so bringing down things like Intune. But that is still all out-of-the-box functionality. If we want the most productive teams, we have to move beyond the out-of-the-box functionality into what we call customization and enhancement. Now, we can do it through full code and building our own apps from scratch, but we can do this through the Power Platform. And organizations will never reach their potential in Teams if they don't engage with the Power Platform. So we need to first of all start thinking, how does it do that? Now, we can talk about this in our old way, talking about it, bringing together chat and meetings and calling, or how we can work together. But we need to begin to start talking about Teams in terms of the Power Platform and what Teams cannot do. So Teams doesn't have an application, for example, for purchase orders or taking time off from work, or it doesn't have an application for going on annual leave. So instead of us waiting for Microsoft, we can go and build one with Power Apps, and we can do that easily because it's low code, no code. It's designed for people who have no coding experience. What in Teams as well takes us too much time to do? Well, we can automate that through Power Platform. How are we managing data within Microsoft Teams? Because most people today just use it through Excel, but with Power BI, we can create visualizations and insights to go on and make better data-driven decisions. And last of time, do you keep on getting the same questions through time and time again into your team? Well, we can build a bot through Power Virtual Agents in order to handle and answer those questions. So now we're going to get on to showing you how we can do this. I'm going to have 3 simple life scenarios. One is to do with Power Apps, one is to do with Power Automate, and one is to do with Power BI. Now, the first one in Power Automate, I want you to imagine that I have my team. This is my team in my business. Adam wants the ability to know more about members of the team, and he wants to see all of their bios. He wants to know more about members of the team. Now, there's no app in Microsoft Teams to do this, so we're going to build one. Secondly, Amanda said it would be amazing that when people join Teams, if there could be a welcome message. We're going to show you how to do that through Power Automate. Last of all, Vesku has a scenario where he wants to see where people are in their Teams migrations, and he's currently working on an Excel spreadsheet, and that is really hard to explain to the rest of his business. So let's take the first solution. We can do this with Power Apps, and we can build a Canvas app. So I'm just going to jump into my environment. Okay, here is my my team. Okay, now here is the application that I've built. As you can see, okay, here is the application. I press start. Okay, I can see the bios of all of these people in my team. So I just go through to the next screen, and there we go. I can see more information on Adam. I can see what Adam does. I can click out on Twitter, for example, and have hyperlinks within there, and that goes straight through to Twitter. If I go to click on the blog, it goes through to Adam's blog. I can play a video.
I have Adam Delkinger here.
Within that video, I can rate Adam. Now, this is an application that's installed within the environment, but how did I get to that place? Well, inside Power Apps, okay, I've built the application. So I simply go to New App and create a Canvas app. And inside that Canvas app, you can see what I've done is I've created very simply 3 screens. So this is the home screen, and I've got a button on there. I've created a second screen where I've got a gallery part that I can add. And then I've got a third screen whereby I can add images. So if I wanted to, for example, add another image on this, I can simply go and do that. Now, this took me a whole kind of, I would say, an hour in order to build this simple app. It's just a simple demonstration of how you can build those apps. Now, how did I get that into Microsoft Teams? Well, it was just a simple case of going and saving the app. And then once the app is being saved, I click on Add to Microsoft Teams. I download the app as a package. So this is just going to download, so you can see that it's just packaging. So it's there we go. There's the zip file. I then go into Microsoft Teams and I come down to the App Store, and you would see upload a customized app. So I'd click on that customized app, click on upload, and then what I would do is I would then take my package and I would upload that into Microsoft Teams. As you can see, I've already pre-installed that. Now, where can I surface that app? Inside Teams, I can add that application to any kind of channel that I want. So let's just take this other channel down here. I would click Add. I would search for the application. There it is. And I would then save that application. I can also add it to the left-hand rail here too. So there's the application if I wanted to see it on the left-hand side of Microsoft Teams, as opposed to seeing it in a particular channel. So I've built that app in literally the space of an hour. And that app doesn't just have to be for showing the team's bios. It could be used for training. It could be used as an instruction manual, a product portfolio. You're only really limited by your imagination. Indeed, okay, Microsoft have even brought out new functionality that I'll talk about in a bit, that you can install apps into particular teams only through something called Dataverse. So that is how we can enrich Microsoft Teams through Power Apps, by building these very simple applications in our environment and then installing them into Microsoft Teams for our teams and our users to use. How about the second scenario, which is flow and automation? Amanda in my team wanted the ability to add a welcome message when somebody joins a team. Now, what does that look like? So here you can see an example of that welcome message, but how did I actually build that? So inside, okay, Power Automate, now you can either access Power Automate directly, or you could access it through Microsoft Teams itself, through the Power Automate app. I'm going to go back. This is the flow, what we call flow, an automation flow. This is what it looks like. So I'm just going to edit this. We have a trigger, a Teams trigger. So when a new member is added, we get the user's information, and then what we do is we post the message. Now this flow triggers automatically when somebody is added to the team. So I'm going to do that now. Okay. So I'm going to go to Power Automate. I'm going to go to my team. I'm going to then click on the buttons. I'm going to add a new member. I'm going to add Carolina. I'm going to add her to my team. She's been added a member. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and run the flow. I'm going to do this manually this time, just so that it does it faster. I'm going to test, trigger the flow, and you wait here. So that's going to go. The flow ran successfully. And there we go. You can see, welcome to the team Carolina. It's going to get her orientated on what all of the channels do within the team. Now, the good thing about this is, and using this, is that you imagine if I'm adding 500 people to my team, I don't want to have to manually write that each and every time. So by creating that flow using actions within within Power Automate, I've saved myself a huge amount of time having to write a welcome message each time. And I saved myself having to orientate people around the team, but at the same time, they still get a nice welcome message. I want to show you one more flow while we're here. Okay, very quickly, because flow, that's a very simple flow. We can run, okay, quite complex flows. So here's a flow that I built earlier. This is one that I did a blog on. I'm just going to open this up so that I'm going to show you what this does. So this is another example of a flow. It's a much longer flow that when somebody submits a form, it gets added to a list and then it triggers an approval and then I can post into Yammer. So what does that look like? So here's our course. This is a scenario of somebody attending a course. I'm going to give feedback to the organization. So that's the course that I attended. There's my instructor, and how would I rate the course? I'm going to give them a 5 because it was a great course. There we go. I've submitted that form. So what happens then? Okay, well, inside my course list, I'm going to trigger that flow. So this is just going to run now. There we go, it's run. So in my list, my score has been recorded. Okay. There we go, 1046. So it's triggered a notification to say that I've just given it a top score. Okay. It's then sent me an approval because I want to push it out to Yammer. So I approve that. And now if I open Yammer and I go to the all company, there we go. It's just given me just now. Okay, that's pushed out. So what that's showing is that I have a customer, they've attended my course, they've given me great feedback, the team is notified, I've approved it, and then I've pushed it into Yammer out across my whole organization. So that's just 2 kind of scenarios. And again, this is bound really by your imagination. Let's move on to the third, which is the Power BI workspace and report. So imagine in this scenario, Vesku is managing Teams migrations for our organization, and he can't understand easily where they are in the process. So inside, okay, Microsoft Teams, if I come up, I then go to my Power BI demo. Now, imagine in this scenario that Vesku has been managing that migrations on an Excel spreadsheet. Let's go and have a look at that Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so it's taken a little bit in order to be able to load up. Look at that. That's the Excel spreadsheet that he's managing those migrations on and how people are adopting Teams. Now, I could sit there for a long time and try to look at that and try to extrapolate and get me insights, but that's difficult to do. That's not very good looking. If I gave that report to my senior leadership team, they would turn around and they would not be able to make a lot of sense of that. They can't see what is going on easily. So we're going to use Power BI. So I'm just going to open the Power BI panel, and you can so all you need to do in this situation, upload it, that Excel, to the team, create a Power BI workspace, create a report, and then add it back into Teams. So here we go. I'm in Power BI. So I just open Power BI. Here is my workspace. Okay, if I go to my workspaces, this is the workspace that I created. And within that workspace, this is the report that I created. So just have a quick look at this based upon that data. So all I did was connect the workspace to that Excel within Teams. And look at this. This looks far easier to be able to A, be able to look at the data, and B, give me insights. I can do this and then start to create my strategy. So I can see that most of our customers have instant message and presence. So most customers are using Teams. 20% are probably using something else, or Skype for Business. Quite a few are using the audio conferencing add-on. Not that many are using voice, and even less are using custom apps. So if I'm in sales, for example, then voice and custom apps are the biggest opportunities that we have with our customers. In addition, I can splice up that data. So if I want to look at a specific customer, let's have a look at this customer. So customer 12 has presence, has audio conferencing. I can have the right conversation with the customer. Let's have a look at another customer. At this time, they're using voice, so it might be managed services with voice or looking at building custom apps. Now I've got that data, I've created my workspace, connected to the data, and built my report. What I can then do inside my team is then bring that back into Microsoft Teams and look at my report, not in Power BI, but the whole team can have access to this report. So when we're having our meeting, we can look at the data within the meeting. That customer there doesn't have anything, so it might be urgent that we have a conversation about Teams. Now that's showing from an Excel. We can also create apps in Power BI, such as this Microsoft 365 usage report. So this is just going to generate up and show you. This is an app that's designed to be able to show you where you are in your Microsoft 365 implementation. It's going to give me all the stats. I can look at all the licensing, who's using what products. That's already included in your Microsoft 365 purchase. You can go and there's a whole selection of apps within inside Power BI that you can add to Power BI and purchase through third parties. So that's just, okay, 3 simple ways in which we can use. We've seen Power Apps being able to easily build and deploy Power Apps into Teams environments. We've seen how we can build flows and how we can automate and the benefits they bring. And we also showed the power of Power BI and how we can take data that looks kind of indecipherable and make it into something that we can consume very, very easily. And here's the insight, okay? It's about moving to high productive teams. If we use the out of the box functionality, it will only get us so far. So if we use chat and meetings and calling, we will be productive, but we will never meet our potential. We can only really meet our potential if we start customizing and enhancing Teams to our real needs. We can do that through full code, but we can do it through the Power Platform. We do not need to be professional developers in order to get started. If we can make apps based upon business need, if we can automate tasks, if we can make data-driven decisions, and if we can build bots within Teams without any professional knowledge prior, that makes it very easy for us, for new people that are new to get started, but for us to start building solutions that make our teams more productive. 3 recommendations to finish off. I've shown you the apps separately, but you can create solutions by combining them. So I can build an app that also uses Flow, that also uses Power BI. Secondly, Dataverse for Teams. Get to know Dataverse for Teams, because now, okay, you can deploy teams for specific teams housed within that team. I'd love to come back and do another session for you on that. Last of all, explore the Power Platform apps within Microsoft Teams if you haven't done so today. There are new apps for Power Apps, Power Virtual Agents, and Power BI. They are all in there. You can go and get hands-on today. 3 calls to action. It's really important after seeing this, if this is something that interests you, I can't recommend enough. Get hands-on and go and experiment. You can get, hopefully, if you're a Microsoft partner, you can get demos.microsoft.com. If not, start a trial. If you're an IT admin, help your users get started. Start initiatives in order to build, have competitions about creating the best Power App or the best Flow automation. Secondly, push for a culture change, because at this moment in time, what we're finding is, especially here in Europe, that organizations are quite resistant to change. When thinking about Power Platform, creating apps, citizen developers, getting people involved in automation or getting people involved in data visualization, it's usually controlled by a specific part of the organization, or organizations are sometimes not interested. So you do have to sell into the organization, show them how this is done. So after getting hands-on and experimenting, show your organization what this can do, get them to buy in, get them to support you. Last of all, continue learning through Microsoft Learn and go for that Power Platform Fundamental certification. So that is the entry-level certification. You will go through the Microsoft Learn modules, or you will attend a course, and then you would take that exam. That's really the first place where that will give you a very broad overview of the whole Power Platform and what's capable. So returning to the outcome, we explored the value, okay, of using Power Platform within Microsoft Teams and how it can make teams more productive. That's the most important thing at all. We showed you 3 very simple scenarios in the time that we had. I mean, I could do a session for 4 hours and show you all the different ways, but I wanted to just give you something very easy to start off with. Last of all, recommendations and calls to action. Okay, after today, if you're interested, get hands-on, go speak to the team and get involved. And hopefully today what you've learned is that teams can be more productive by going beyond the out-of-the-box functionality, by getting hands-on, by building those apps, by building those flows in Power Automate, and by building those dashboards and reports in Power BI, and building those bots in Power Virtual Agents. This was a level 100 introductory session. I tried to include as much demo as I could given the time, but also Teams and Power Platform are rapidly evolving, so this would be valid for 4 to 6 weeks. So I'd like to thank you ever so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to come back and speak in Nigeria. I hope I do so again soon. So thank you ever so much. It's going to be a very busy springtime, and I just want to say that's it. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time and this powerful session. So thank you so much, Chris. So
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris. So I'll hand it over now to Oluwaseun. So it's over to you now to attend to the next speaker.